श्री राधा माधव भगवान की, शिखरंतय मायापुर शशि की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी. Reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, the abridged version. He built a house in which the whole world can live. Continuing with the chapter, only he could lead them. Swamiji told yes, please. Swamiji told Kirtinananda he had definitely decided to go to India via New York as soon as possible. Kirtananda packed Swamiji's things and drove him down to San Francisco to spend the night at the temple. They would leave the next morning. The temple and even Swamiji's apartment were very hectic that night, with many devotees and guests wanting to see Swamiji and dozens of people wanting initiation. When Kirtinananda advised Swamiji not to exert himself by going down for the evening program, he insisted on at least going and sitting during the kirtan. When he entered the storefront, the devotees immediately stopped their kirtan, dropping down to offer obeisances. There was a hush. He commanded a new reverence. This might be the last time they would see him. They watched him during the kirtan as he played his kartals, singing with them for the last time. The uninitiated wanted to accept him as their spiritual master tonight. Before it was too late, Swamiji asked for the microphone. No one had expected him to speak. Kirtananda, the only person in a position to restrain him, said nothing and sat before him like the others, submissive and expectant. Swamiji spoke quietly about his mission. Under the order of his spiritual master, he was bringing Lord Chaitanya's movement to America, and Krishna had kindly sent him so many sincere souls. I have a few children in India from my family days, he said, but you are my real children. Now I am going to India for a little while. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So today is the appearance day of Srimati Sita Thakurani ji. So we read about Acharya's Vaishnava's lifestyle for a bit, and then we go in studying Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimati Sita Thakurani, she Advaita's consort. At the time of Lord Chaitanya's birth, Sri Advaita Acharya was residing in Shantipur. Thus Sita Devi, upon hearing the news that Sachi Mata gave birth to a son, visited the house of Jagannath Mishra, riding on a palanquin covered with cloth. She brought with her many auspicious articles like fresh grass, paddy, gorochana, turmeric, kumkum, and sandalwood. She also brought gifts of eatables, dresses, and other gifts. She blessed the newly born child by placing fresh grass and paddy on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with a long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name Nimai. श्रीमती सीता ठकुरानी देवी की जय। वैष्णवाचार्यास की थैंक यू। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So, Canto 6, Chapter 5 and Text 41. नानुभूय न जानाति पुमान् विषय तीक्ष्णताम् निर्विद्यते स्वयं तस्मान् न तथा भिन्नधि परे। नानुभूय न जानाति पुमान् विषय तीक्ष्णताम् निर्विद्यते स्वयं तस्मान् न तथा भिन्नधि परे। नानुभूय न जानाति पुमान् विषय तीक्ष्णताम् निर्विद्यते स्वयं तस्मान् न तथा भिन्नधि परे। Please chant. पुमान् विषय तीक्ष्णताम् निर्विद्यते स्वयं तस्मान् न तथा भिन्नधि परे। नानुभूय न जानाति पुमान् विषय तीक्ष्णताम् तस्मान् न तथा भिन्नधि परे। न not अनुभूय experiencing, न not janati knows, puman a person, vishaya tikshnatam the sharpness of material enjoyment, nirvidyate becomes aloof, swayam himself, tasmat from that, na tatha not like that, bhinnadi whose intelligence is changed, pare by others. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Material enjoyment is indeed the cause of all unhappiness, but one cannot give it up unless one has personally experienced how much suffering it is. Therefore, one should be allowed to remain in so called material enjoyment while simultaneously advancing in knowledge to experience the misery of this false material happiness. Then, without help from others, one will find material enjoyment detestful. Those whose minds are changed by others do not become as renounced as those who have personal experience. Purport. It is said that unless a woman becomes pregnant, she cannot understand the trouble of giving birth to a child. Bandhya ki bujibe prasava vedana. The word bandhya means a sterile woman. But such a woman cannot give birth to a child. How then can she perceive the pain of delivery? According to the philosophy of Prajapati Daksha, a woman should first become pregnant and then experience the pain of childbirth. Then, if she is intelligent, she will not want to be pregnant again. Actually, however, this is not a fact. Sex enjoyment is so strong that a woman becomes pregnant and suffers at the time of childbirth, but she becomes pregnant again despite her experience. According to Daksha's philosophy, one should become implicated in material enjoyment so that after experiencing the distress of such enjoyment, one will automatically renounce. Material nature, however, is so strong that although a man suffers at every step, he will not cease his attempts to enjoy. Tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukha bhaja. Under the circumstances, unless one gets the association of a devotee like Narad Muni or his servant in the disciplic succession, one's dormant spirit of renunciation cannot be awakened. It is not a fact that because material enjoyment involves so many painful conditions, one will automatically become detached. One needs the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. Then one can renounce his attachment for the material world. The young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment not because of practice but by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम्बुदीर्य तमहं प्रपद्ये मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna. Thank you everyone for kindly joining us in the story of Srimad Bhagavatam. Fascinating, and so this is by the way Daksha speaking. Daksha is speaking, and so and in this conversation between Daksha and Narada Muni. See, Srimad Bhagavatam is complete and all round, isn't it? We get conversation between Narad Muni and Daksha, and we get the other way as well. What Daksha is saying to Narad Muni. So, translation it says, material enjoyment is indeed the cause of all unhappiness, but one cannot give it up unless one has personally experienced how much suffering it is. Again, Daksha is speaking this. Everyone speaks based on one's experience, right? Everyone speaks based on one's consciousness. We may try to imitate, we may try to say mug up and say, like, we may try to imitate like some things what Prabhupada said, and I may try to speak it out the same, like Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj, right? He said that ISKCON is a crying institution, or cry, that. cry for Krishna, cry that you cannot cry for Krishna, and further on and all. So I may go on speaking like, okay, what Gaur Govind Maharaj had said or like that, but thing is, it has to uh, come to my consciousness, it has to come to my experience. I have to realize this. But still, even though if I repeat what Prabhupada, repeat what Gaur Govind Maharaj, repeat what devotees are saying, repeat what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, then I will attain purification. Will attain purification, and one day the vision will be even furthermore refined. Speaking, just thinking of this material enjoyment and suffering and happiness, the definition of the material world is uh, that whatever we control actually controls us. Whatever we own actually owns us. So we are thinking that we are actually enjoying, or there's this real enjoyment. There is enjoyment, but it is very fickle, it is very temporary, it is very, very minute, it is very agantuk, very coming and going as such. So it is not at all a good level of enjoyment for the soul to find saturation. For the soul to find saturation, and soul is continuously looking for Krishna. Soul is continuously looking for spiritual engagement, for spiritual association, for the association of Krishna and devotees, and participating in loving devotional service. What is the default status in WhatsApp? In WhatsApp, status appears, right, which can be changed. One can update this. So by default, what is the default status in WhatsApp? I don't think so. That's by default the status in WhatsApp. Say again? Yeah, I think this is the one. I think, hi there, I'm using WhatsApp. Hi there, I'm using WhatsApp. In reality, this is one has to check out for oneself. In reality, could this be the default status, or should this be the default status? Hi there, WhatsApp is using me. When the phone is designed and all, okay, hi there, I'm using WhatsApp, I'm available on WhatsApp, yeah. Um, and it apparently seems like, okay, I'm controlling WhatsApp and I'm controlling YouTube, phone, and relationships and this and that and all. Yeah, I'm in control, I'm in position. But in reality, is it really, am I really using WhatsApp, or am I being used by WhatsApp? And such is material enjoyment. Am I really enjoying, or actually am I being sucked in or squeezed in? Just like when we bind say a cow with a rope, say, now how long, if a cow, like if she's bound up by rope, how long can she actually possibly go? As long as kind of the length of the rope allows her to. And how much can actually she graze? Again, as much as what is there. So likewise, material enjoyment is very limited, it's very temporary, and everyone's quota is already set up, it's already destined. So one shouldn't really make an extra effort to try to act any smart for it. Rather, one's all energy, endeavor, effort should be in realizing Krishna, okay? In practicing Krishna consciousness, in making efforts in practicing Krishna consciousness and purifying one's existence altogether, controlling one's mind and purifying one's existence altogether. I mean, we see at different stages a person commits crime and he's caught by police, he's put behind the bars. But once he's out of the jail as well, again the same story. It repeats itself. Likewise, for ourselves as well, many things we do and we feel regret of it, but then we again do the same thing, we again do the same thing. So it is not just by, okay, hating something and all renunciation will come about. That if I hate and develop a low thought, detest, then yeah, I will stop doing it. It doesn't come about, and certainly uh, the spiritual renunciation or wouldn't come about. Markat Bairagya, right? They say. So when we go for someone's funeral, we see, okay, body is dying and burnt into fire and all. And at that time, the setting, the environment, the scenario naturally invokes a sense of renunciation. But once we are out of the scene, then back to normal, back to pretty much normal, back to pretty much square one. I mean, the after effect of pandemic, how much have changed? Pretty much could be back to square one. Individually, one may take some initiative or make some changes. Yeah, just like uh, birds in a way, hopping and jumping from one branch towards the other. Sometimes we find sense gratification in shopping, then okay, enough of shopping now maybe drinking, now eating, now traveling. So we are continuously hopping and jumping and we never feel ourselves very secure or peaceful because we haven't taken the shelter of Krishna. And once we take the shelter of Krishna, we can find our real attachment, we can find our real absorption. The thing is to make a start, first to acknowledge, that really the sort of happiness I'm experiencing, it is very, very fickle. It's very fickle, it is very short-lived, it is very temporary, and it isn't really helping me grow. But then the heart's desire is for a real happiness, so it must be existing somewhere. Searching out what is the process to be real happy, to be ever happy, and not become upset by the upheavals of this material world. Throughout Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, all over Vedic literature, it's all very complete to help us in this life itself develop attachment towards Krishna. There's a beautiful shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam 11 to 20, 36. Uh, in that purport, it's 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 mentioned through Acharyas mentioned that prayerful mention in the purport. So it says, Krishna kindly help me see miseries, suffering, pain, struggle in material enjoyment. Kindly help me see. Because we approach material enjoyment thinking that this is all in life and wow. Yeah, doesn't matter even if I have to suffer afterwards, I will still go for it and for the moment I may squeeze in whatever happiness I can. We should really develop this vision and understand that in the name of enjoyment it is anything but suffering. Very low level of enjoyment. Several prayers to all saints. Yuvatinam yatha yuni. Yunam cha yuvato yatha. Mano me abhiramate tadvan. Mano me ramatam tvai. So, if Yamunacharya quotes this, says this, just like a young girl falls in, develops attraction towards a young boy, or vice versa, a boy develops attraction towards a young girl. So the prayer is Krishna, hmm, kindly help my mind, kindly put my mind, kindly settle my mind, that I can develop that same attachment for you, towards you. I can come out of my second nature and come to my original constitutional position. And if not today, then when? If not now, then when? If not in this life, then when? Okay, on this note, maybe I will take a pause. If there are any questions, comments, or any clarifications, please.
Fanatical. And that you paint a very dark picture because you've got sour grapes, because you couldn't get it together in the material world, and everything was a failure. Therefore, you're assuming everybody else is going to be the same.
Really, Prabhupada was asked similar question on those lines, and Swamiji, um, how can you say drinking isn't good? How can you say illicit relationships or this isn't good and all? Well, you haven't practiced and all. Swamiji said, yeah, I have never thankfully done any of this. Again, literally I'm not saying, but what I heard and what Prabhupada kind of said around that. And then he pointed to his disciples, right? Well, you can check on the after, before and after effect of it. Before and after effect of it. Also elsewhere, uh, Prabhupada was being asked by someone, I believe this was outside of India, maybe Malaysia, I don't know why Malaysia is coming to my mind, but somewhere outside of India, and Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, you speak on reincarnation and life after death and this, but and what if there is no, what is the proof, and what if there is no reincarnation and all? So Prabhupada, being Prabhupada, smiling, they replied, okay, fine. Say supposedly there happens to be no life after that, there happens to be no reincarnation. What have we got to do? We are still chanting, dancing, and feasting, and we are having a great time. But imagine if it turns out to be true. If there is life after that, if there is next life, Vrindavan, if there is Krishna, imagine and there is Golo Vrindavan. Where we would be and where would you be as such? It's not that painting any negative or pessimistic view towards life. Or it's not like putting someone in sort of pressure or putting anyone's down, you know. Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't give any license to put anyone's down. And doesn't mean that okay, if someone is practicing devotion service and one has the option to see himself, okay, I'm a bit higher now, I'm a bit evolved now. But it is bringing a realistic view of life, neither pessimistic nor optimistic as well in that sense. Bringing a realistic view of life altogether. And one can see now, proof of the pudding is in the eating, so one can check out, test out, experience it for himself or herself. Our in this world, relative world of duality, uh, controlled by the three modes of material nature, we heavily associate with mind. Whatever we gain, accept, reject, and knowledge is also the functions of the mind, and then the senses act. So we can see, okay, where I'm putting my mind, where am I engaging my senses, and what is the after effect of it? What is the after effect of it? After having some points, we can check what is the after effect of it. What is the after effect of some other things and all. And after chanting Hare Krishna, we can check what is the after effect of it. In love, there is no force. No one is forcing oneself to anyone to practice Krishna consciousness. But surely that option, that choice, and encouragement and perhaps a gentle push is there. Is that somewhat answers your question?
Yeah, you would like to expand on that?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I wonder if you could, in the purport, then Prabhupada says that true renunciation, material renunciation, won't come about unless we come into contact and get the blessings of a devotee like Narada Muni. So, could you expand on what is a devotee like Narada Muni?
What is the devotee like Narada Muni? Yeah, seriously. So, thank you for the question. And again, I won't be able to answer your question as such, but I can try making an attempt, and this is for my own purification itself. So, devotee like Narada Muni, who is, I mean, there's various definitions of a devotee like Narada Muni or a pure devotee. One who is completely taken shelter of Krishna. One who is completely taken shelter of Krishna, one through his mind, words, speech, heart, soul, through all of his faculties of existence, who sees the joy of Krishna, who does anything for the pleasure of Krishna. One who speaks the same message what Krishna is speaking. But Bhagavatam is offered.
or one who is in uh, the advancement in bhakti is like in one's direct proportion to having his say relationship with his Guru Maharaj. So how Muni is in the disciplic succession and how he is serving in the disciplic succession and helping everyone out, helping everyone out. How chaste and loyal, how pure, that way, how chaste and loyal is he to the disciplic succession, how chaste and loyal is he to the words of Krishna, to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And because of the chastity, loyalty, and then to the blessing, like beautiful Papa, it says, right, that the last sentence, that the young boys and girls of the Krishna consciousness movement have given up the spirit of material enjoyment, not because of practice, but by the mercy of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants, not because of practice. So it's not like out of my efforts or out of my own efforts and okay because of the practice. Yeah, practice is part of the process. The real thing is to attract the mercy of Mahaprabhu, to attain the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And that comes based on our relationship we have with devotees, the relationship we share with devotees, and what is our mood approach and attitude in practicing Krishna consciousness. Devotee like Narad Muni, he is very chaste, loyal, and we see he doesn't get like upset because he doesn't have, he's not, and he's traveling all over the sky, but he's not of this material world. Even though he's traveling throughout the cosmos and beyond, but he's not of this world. As they say, he's completely of the great sin because he's very perfectly situated in his constitutional position. Very perfectly situated in his constitutional position. And we all are looking for settlement. We all are looking for that becoming perfectly situated in our constitutional position. We all are like clay. We all are like clay, and the pot has not been made out of us. So we all are still very loose. We all are still very loose. But when we allow ourselves taking the shelter of devotees, predominantly taking the shelter of a spiritual master, then that clay, that loose clay can be formed and given it a proper shape and be made into a pot altogether.
Yes, thank you. If I could follow up that with a question, because I'm not any spiritually advanced, how can I recognize that somebody else is completely devoted? How does that look?
Very nice question. Pray to Radha and Krishna. Pray to Radha and Krishna. Shri Gauranga Mayapur Sashiti. We do not have that vision. We do not understand real goal or difference between an imitation and goal. Someone can give to us and how do we understand okay, whether this is a real goal or an imitation goal. We don't know the difference between real and cheap. But if we are sincere enough and we do not want to be cheated and we are also wanting to serve also sincerely, not cheating. If we are looking for it, then we should pray Krishna residing as Paramatma in our heart. Pray to the deities. When we pray to the deities, they will help us, they will reveal who is a bona fide person, who is a bona fide devotee, who is actually practicing Krishna consciousness, who is advanced, how much, who has developed attachment towards Krishna. Then we can see. So, by praying to the deities, by praying to Radha Krishna, then we can understand, yes, he is a Krishna conscious person. A customized Krishna conscious person sent for my elevation altogether. And then when you take shelter of that person, then they help us attain Radha and Krishna. They make us attain Radha and Krishna. In our conditioned state, we want to serve, that thinking, okay, I want to do this for Krishna. But when we take shelter, then we understand what Krishna would want us to do, what Krishna would want us to do. But in order to understand, okay, who is actually a advanced devotee, say something in the lines of the question, we can see in business who is an advanced businessman. Where is his focus? Where is his focus, a businessman's focus? Where is a politician's focus? Where is an artist, film star's focus and all? How engrossed they are in their occupation? How much attached they are to their occupation? How much, likewise a devotee, how much is he attached to Krishna? How much is he attached to the instructions of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is all the same. It's not that different instructions here and there. Same message, same instructions all over. So how much one is attached? How much one is attached to those instructions, to those principles? How much is one free from self-obsession? How much is one thinking of Radha and Krishna throughout and throughout? This is the symptom, like when we see, okay, in someone in a world, some person who is too depressed, we try, oh no point going at him, he's too depressed and he just goes in his own shell, in his own world, and he goes in his loop of repeating his own story over and over and again. But likewise, the same, one is too attached to Radha and Krishna, he will be in the shell of Radha and Krishna, and he will be on that loop. Wherever he sees, whatever he sees, he will make it Krishna conscious. He will make it Krishna consciousness, and further and further and further. And how to understand who is the person, say, and the real thing is praying. Chanting is none other than praying. Chanting, japa, praying, listening to Srimad Bhagavatam with heartfelt attention. And when we are actually nicely composed, say nicely situated, prayers will come naturally. Desire will develop naturally. When we go in Kirtan Mela or absorb ourselves in Kirtan, absorb ourselves in some, say, class, listening katha, in absorb ourselves in chanting, then things come simultaneously naturally. Desire, prayers, uh, hankering, and that sort of heartful mood to surrender. And then as much as we pray to Krishna, then Krishna will facilitate. Krishna will facilitate. Krishna becomes personally involved. Becomes personally involved when he sees, okay, someone is trying to become a sadhaka. Krishna becomes personally involved. And the whole emphasis is how can we transfer our karmic reactions as well, our karma and everything, our material identity, consciousness, thought process from the hands of Lord Brahma to Krishna. Right now, data transferring, we say, right, okay, data is being transferred. And somewhere, oh, there's a power cut, there's a leakage or something, or data stop. And no, we couldn't, network failure, we couldn't transfer the entire. It's a funny thing. Now, like, Prabhupada Maharaj, he said in one of his classes that he was born and raised in a village or a very small town. So he said like the examples he listened and devotees gave is very based to nature, agriculture, farming, and very natural, and that's very close to Srimad Bhagavatam. But nowadays, personally, I'm not at all close to, even though living in eco farm and such, but I hardly do anything else. And this sort of technological oriented things only we try to help ourselves understand. Nonetheless, whatever helps us advance in Krishna consciousness. So you see, transferring the data, there could be network failure and all. Likewise, because of some power cut or something in between. Likewise, this life is an opportunity for us to transfer our complete material identity all together, dissolve it all together, and revive our pure spiritual identities, pure spiritual consciousness, pure love for Krishna. So that opportunity is there to transform ourselves from the hands of Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. And we are actually in this transferring process. We are on the journey to Godhead. Just provided there's no network failure. Just provided we do not get any sidetrack. Just provided we do not lose our focus. Just provided we enthusiasm is great. We sustain that enthusiasm. Sustaining that enthusiasm. And this is why morning program, devotee association, oral, attentive listening to Srimad Bhagavatam, reading, hearing, and currently we are not in a stage, or definitely I'm not in a stage that whatever I do, I can do it with full absorption. But in chunks, I can do something in full absorption. Chanting, at least some chanting I can do in full absorption. May not be throughout the whole week, but at least 1 day, 2 days. And then thing is, we want to come to a stage wherein Kirtanya Sadhana. So throughout every cell within our body has to be spiritualized. It will become spiritualized. It will become spiritualized. And when we come across a pure devotee, when we come across someone who is very elevated, and how do we identify? Krishna residing in our heart will reveal and help us. Krishna will reveal. Shastras gave us, right? Shastras gave us instructions and all these messages, okay, who is a devotee, who is a person. Uh, So this Shastras are telling us, and then we can see a person in his personal life as well, how advanced, how genuine is he, how genuine is he, how purely is he in his overall conduct and everything. Also, and what Abhukshila Prabhu mentioned, there's a beautiful quote like Prabhupada said, I love it personally, that people have smiling faces but crying hearts. People have smiling faces but crying hearts. And just the role of a devotee is very pivotal. You just need to somehow tap in. You just need to somehow, and we can see if we put our hands on someone's shoulders and all. Okay, then tears may come out of them going through this trouble or that trouble, this and all. But externally, we want to show a smiling face. We want to keep a happy face. But inside, Krishna consciousness is not an external source. It's a completely internal source. Right now, the soul is somewhere very much don't know where within the surface. And it's like internally we are trying to scratch and onto our real potential, onto our real identity, onto our real dharma. We are only loving and serving the divine purpose. From experience also we see those who are engaged in some wrongdoings and all, they repeatedly commit. So it's not like okay, one has gone through the experience of life and then okay, finally you will become a renunciate. If that is the case, then all pensioners would have been actually chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We don't see that actually. That okay, many elderly people, pensioners over 50s, they've been through life, right? They've done all their services and all their duties and all. What next is left? And Hare Krishna. But our Adokshya Prabhu, he handles drama, right? Suresh, come, I've come to take you home. No, no, I've left this business. I've got this business left. I've got that business left. So, in this developing pure knowledge, developing renunciation, it is something which cannot be prolonged, which cannot be left. Okay, once I approach 40, once I approach 50, after 50, after 60, what business have I got to do? And then I have to chant Hare Krishna only. Well, for first 50 years, if someone is not chanting Hare Krishna, we do not expect a magic. All of a sudden, it's such okay, like after 50 years, we starting chanting Hare Krishna. Also, first 50 years, there's some light in the body. There's much higher, better light in the body, isn't it? There's more strength, vitality, and everything. So one can chant loudly, one can really chant hard. But after 50, 60, the body is also not very helpful conversation. Yes, sir.
What was the question?
Your question.
No.
Fifth question. So fifth question was that, like he said, that he considers himself not to be spiritually advanced, and how can I'm not being spiritually advanced, and how can I understand that someone is an advanced devotee? Because in the purport, Prabhupada says like it is not through practice of sin. Advancement is by the association of a bona fide advanced devotee. Through the association with.
Yeah, I was just going to answer that. Just that there's different ways of measuring. Probably one of the most effective ways of measuring a devotee is with the dimension of time. Because you could measure his doting, you could measure the amount of books he's done, you could measure how high he jumps when he's in kirtan, then you could measure how long has he been performing devotional service. So that's an important aspect actually of assessing a devotee's stature, is the length of time he's maintained and sustained devotional service. If he's managed to keep doing full-time devotional service, if you look around, there's not so many that manage to do that. They're good for the first few years, and we see things peter out, and people waver off track. So, and sometimes that's why I've seen with devotees, they take sometimes a while before they choose a spiritual master. Because, not so much now, but back in the 80s, the longest spiritual master been a spiritual master was like 10 years, or even less actually, 82, it's only 5 years. So it's hard to measure over 5 years. For someone's been a steady devotee for 40 years, 50 years, then you can take shelter as a guru, And we see that now the devotees that are initiated, they've got like 50 years steady devotional service, something like that. So you can think, well, the story seems pretty steady. There's nothing really doing anything else. So I can accept, although I don't myself, I'm heavily conditioned by the material energy. But I think that even on a very gross level, you can see that this person has been going for a long time, steady.
So Krishna will do all the arrangements, does all the arrangements, he's been arranging everything. Only if we are still within, we are in the right zone. In the association, it is association which will help us come to the mode of goodness, stay in mode of goodness, fix ourselves, sustain the mode of goodness. But then we have to transcend the mode of goodness as well. But at least in mode of goodness, we can develop some sanity. We can develop some sanity and we can see, okay, who is the calm, sober, sincere, sane person. So, whose booty can we want to. And then further advance, further excel. So, Krishna says, right, in Bhagavad Gita, both communications actually, ye yatama prapadyante tam satyam pujanyam, annavatmanam vartante manusya partha sarvasa. Actually, the message Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, it's all the same, different shlokas, same message only. So, as much like sugar we put in, say, porridge, that much sweet the porridge will get. So, as much love and surrender we put in our loving devotional service, Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. And then when Krishna says, okay, wow, he's wanting me, he's desiring for me, he actually means me, then Krishna will send his representative. Okay, go and see him. Just like, example, there's some, say, medical disease. So because of some medical disease and happening or something in a vicinity, in an area, in a community, say. So a pharmaceutical company, they send medical representative, right? Okay, there's this problem happening. We have got the medicine. People need the medicine. Call your medical representative and give them the medicine. Likewise, Krishna, when he sees, okay, he's jumping and running, not to catch the moon, not to catch heavenly planets, or not to catch material enjoyments, but he is actually jumping only to catch me. So Krishna will send his representative. Shall probably was saying something.
That was just the example of the porridge you were saying, the sugar, that applied for pumpkins as well.
So initiative is on the sadhaka's part. This is what initiation means, right? To initiate, that is on the sadhaka's part. And rest, Krishna will do everything. The rest all arrangement, facility and everything is there. Just we need to initiate. And actually we have already also initiated as well. We shouldn't consider ourselves a camp and we are unconditioned devotee, but it's not like, okay, I'm not at all a devotee. We shouldn't go too much for another go down. No. We all have initiated as well, initiated as well. Now it's just hanging on to staying in the process. Okay, thank you very much for your participation and encouragement. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai God Premanand.
Very well. His Grace Bhakta Ashish Prabhu ki Jai. Take it yourself. You should take some tea also. I can't do it. Just take yourself. You should take tea.